Stargirl, ladies and gentlemen, episode 13, Summer School. We will call this episode School's Out. We have reached the end of season 2 of Stargirl. And this is your boy Icon with some DC TV. So, I have so many things to say. I have so many things to say. Let's just get right into this. So the episode starts. It starts where the last episode ended, which was Beth and Dr. Mid-Nite being confronted by Eclipso. And Eclipso did this thing where, he basically told them he was, because remember, Beth had called Courtney and the gang to come to where they were. And Eclipso was like, good, because that's what I wanted. And shout out to the kid who's playing Eclipso, because he did the damn thing. So even having to do all like that racist stuff and everything, like, he took it like a champ. But anyway, so, he was just like, that's what I want. He's like, I want you to bring them over here because my ultimate goal is to bring the darkness out of Courtney. In order to get Beth and Mid-Nite out of the way, because the two of them are the only two people who can actually see through, Eclipso's illusions. He said that Beth's mom ended up going to, the dad's job. And then he trapped the two of them in like this revolving, like nightmare where Beth is it's like Beth is looking into a room and she sees both of her parents being yelled at by her, saying that she doesn't love them and that, they ruined their life. And her parents are basically trapped in that horror show, and she, and Eclipso was like, I'm gonna kill your parents unless you back up out my business. So Beth's trying to deal with that whole thing because she's trying to save her parents, and Dr. Mid-Nite is trying to help her. Jenny ends up waking up from her nightmare where she saw like evil Courtney taking over, and then she tells good old mom Barbara, and she's just like, oh, you gotta tell Courtney to not go down there because that's exactly what Eclipso wants. And then Barbara's like, it's too late, they already left. So then, Jenny and Barbara, they're just like, oh, we gotta go down there and like we gotta do something. Jenny was like, it's time for me to get up off my ass in brightest day, and blackest night. So when the two of them get ready to leave, there's a ring at the door, and when Barbara opens the door, someone is standing at the door, and we all knew who it was. And I was so mad because up until that point, I completely forgot about his ass. So anyway, then it cuts to Courtney, it cuts to Cindy, Yolanda, and Pat. They're on their way down to Beth's dad's job, and then when they get down to the job, they're arguing, Yolanda and Cindy, like they're arguing over like, because Cindy was just like, oh, you don't need, because Courtney's whole thing was she was just like, yeah, we missing mad people. She was like, Rick ain't here. She was like, the Thunderbolt ain't here. She's like, Jenny ain't here. And then Cindy was like, well, you got me. And then Yolanda was like, nobody wants your ass, bitch. But there was a lot of like bickering going back and forth. They go into the job. They go into the building or whatever. They see Eclipso. Eclipso basically like whammies them and hits them with the voodoo. He has Yolanda going one-on-one against the actual Ted Grant. And the whole time Ted Grant saying things to her like, oh, you're no wildcat. He was like, you do one thing wrong and you're all broken to pieces. Cindy ends up fighting the child version of herself. And I thought that was an interesting choice because they did the whole thing where like the girl, like the child version of Cindy, she was like, oh, don't hurt me like you hurt our mom. But I feel like it would have been more effective had they actually used the mom, because we even saw in the Shadowlands, Cindy would never fight her mom, and that was like her mom's one weakness. Cindy doesn't give a damn about fighting herself, because when she looks at herself, all she sees is the monster that her dad made her into. So that was a very poor choice by Eclipso. Pat ended up seeing himself, and that was the first time ever I saw the actor. What was that, Luke Wilson? Owen Wilson? No, that's Luke Wilson. That's the first time I ever saw Luke Wilson actually be animated. Like he put on a smile and he was like all goofy. Usually he just has like the same demeanor, and I was actually very impressed when he was fighting himself in that moment. Which only leaves Courtney now to sit there and fight Eclipso, and it's not working. Her entire team, they getting their ass beat, and then while they getting their ass beat, this is all a plan by Eclipso to basically try to like rile Courtney up and get Courtney to say the magic words, so he could obtain the ultimate power. Dr. Mid-Nite now, he ends up leaving Beth alone. He goes into the hallway and he stops everybody and he's just like, yo, this shit ain't real. Like he stops Pat, you know, from beating himself up. And then after Pat is done, you know, was done beating himself up, then he goes over to everybody else. And then using his goggles, he was able to, well, Beth did pop up too. She used her goggles. She told Courtney, she was like, oh, he's behind you. Courtney blasted Eclipso with the staff. And then after she blasted him, that snapped Yolanda out of her vision. That snapped Cindy out of her vision. And then Beth's parents got snapped out of their vision as well. And Beth's parents were pretty funny because like they didn't understand what was going on. And then Beth was just like, listen, don't worry about it. She was just like, by the way, I'm a superhero. This is Dr. McKnight, or he's a superhero. I just need you to stay here and we gonna take care of some business. You know, because at that point, like Eclipso pretty much bounced at that point because he got blasted and he went outside to basically try to like, you know, like recuperate and like, you know, like get himself together. So everybody's going outside, everybody running outside now to go after Eclipso. Rick is still back at the garage trying to fix the damn hourglass. And he gets to a point where it's not working and he can't fix the hourglass. But he knows that his people, they're out there fighting Eclipso. So Rick suits up in the costume and he goes out there to try to help out. Mike was just like, bro, he was like, yo, did you fix the hourglass? And Rick was like, nope. And then he was just like, so what are you going to do? He was like, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to go down there, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to whoop some ass. And then Rick leaves and he goes down there. So Mike and Jakeem, I don't know why they call this boy Jakeem. Mike and Jakeem now. See, the reason why I have a problem with them calling him Jakeem is because I feel like they just made that, they're just like, okay, we have a black kid who's gonna be on the show and he needs a name, and they just randomly pulled that name out of a random Urban Dictionary. There is no way, unless that is the name of someone's child who happens to be on the writing staff. I'd really like to know where y'all got Jakeem from. Wait, you know, so Jakeem and Mike, they're at the garage too, and they're trying to fix the robot. They're trying to fix Stripe. Because Pat had told Mike, he said, listen, when you get Stripe up and running, come down to where we're at and help us out fight, you know, help us fight Eclipso. The mechanic guy, he basically said that there was a part that was missing and a part that was needed. And he said without that part, they can't fix the robot. But then, you know, Mike was just like, well, you know, when can we get a part? How soon can we get the part? And then the mechanic said, we're not going to be able to get a part until tomorrow morning. And then Mike was like, yo, my dad played me. He said it was my dad's idea all along. He knew we couldn't get that part. He knew the part wouldn't be available until tomorrow. He did that on purpose to keep me out of danger because he didn't want me to go down there. And then Jakeem was just like, well, he's your dad. You know, he was trying to protect you. And then Mike was like, yeah, but he doesn't have any backup. And I was like, that was a complete disrespect to every single member of the JSA that's going down there trying to find Eclipse. I was like, what you mean he ain't got no backup? So then at that moment, the Thunderbolt comes back, and you know, the Thunderbolt comes back. He has like Chinese food for everybody. And here's where it got weird, because at that point, they were just like, okay, Thunderbolt's back, you know, like our friends and family are in trouble. We got to do something. So while Eclipso's down there, you know, Eclipso, you know, he ends up fighting Courtney, knocks Courtney down, you know, beats up Yolanda, you know, beats up Cindy, knocks everybody down. He gets bum rushed by the robot. So Stripe is back. Mike is controlling Stripe. I don't know how Mike knew how to control Stripe. It was never spoken that Mike knew how to control the robot. You know, so, but he's controlling the robot, got the robot shaking his ass, like and everything. He's fighting Eclipso, using the chainsaws and the flamethrowers and all the stuff that the mechanic put into the robot, which was pretty funny. Eclipso's looking at him, you know, and then he's just like, what the hell is this? And he's trying to fight him. And then at that point, then they cut back to the mechanic shop. And then the mechanic said to Mike, he was like, yo, that was a good idea, kid, wishing for that, you know, wishing to get that part so we can get the robot fixed. And then when he said that, I was kind of like, okay, why would you wish for the part instead of just wishing? Like, he could have wished for a million things, but he wished for the part. I'm like, okay, fine. I kind of let that slide. And then after that, then he knocked the robot out because Jakeem ended up using one of his wishes, and he wished that Thunderbolt went and electrocuted Eclipso. He tries to electrocute Eclipso. It worked for like 10 seconds. Eclipso snapped out of it. He grabbed Thunderbolt. He beat Stripe with Thunderbolt, and he electrocuted Stripe, and then Stripe was down for the count. So then when he went in for the kill, then Rick shows up, you know, because he was going to beat up Jakeem. Rick shows up, you know, he's dressed up in his costume, and then Eclipso was like, what you doing here, boy? He was like, you don't even have any superpowers. He's like, you have no super strength. And then Rick was just like, well, I got some. He said, actually, I do have super strength with me, and it lasts longer than an hour. And I thought that was a cool line. And then that's when Grundy showed up, because, you know, Rick and Grundy, they've been friends, they've been besties all season. Grundy shows up, knocks Eclipso like 30 feet back, and now Grundy's fighting Eclipso. And then at that moment, that's when I stopped, and I was just like, Mike and Jakeem knew Rick was trying to fix the hourglass. You were trying to fix the robot. why would you not also wish for the hourglass to be fixed? Now you got Rick out here looking stupid with no powers in that dumbass costume. And I was just like, that didn't make sense. I was like, was Mike so self-centered in that moment to only wish for the robot? Where it's like, how do you not wish for the hourglass to be fixed? Yeah, I did a whole segment about it, you know, just like previously. But anyway, you know, so he doesn't have his power. Eclipso ended up killing Grundy, like blasted a hole right through his chest, knocked out Rick, you know, took Rick out. So now Rick's down, you know, the Thunderbolt's down for the count, you know, Jakeem's down for the count, Mike's down. Everybody's down, like everybody knocked out. And then, you know, now Eclipso is just Eclipso and Courtney at this moment. And then Eclipso ends up, you know, him and Courtney end up fighting each other. You know, he's using the staff and this, that, the third, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I actually forgot. I almost forgot about this. Beth's parents were actually saved, not because Eclipso got taken out, you know, because Courtney did get one good blast on him. Her parents weren't saved because of that. Her parents were actually saved by the Shade. And I told y'all the Shade wasn't going nowhere. The Shade came back. He actually sucked up all the darkness, and he saved Beth's parents. And then, you know, Dr. McNider saw him, and then he was just like, Shade, you know, he's like, what? He's like, how did this happen? You know, because the thing is, he said that, he was like, oh, Charles, he was like, the merging of the two worlds together is all the energy I needed to bring myself back to tip-top form. And then he was like, but what was with all the dramatics of you dying? And he was like, Charles, he's like, you know, I love he's like, you know, I love the theater and the flair for the dramatic. And I was like, yo, I fucks with the Shade. And then he was like, oh, saving Best Parents was just extra. This is my dude. MVP is the Shade. And then he was just like, come, Charles. He was like, see you outside. He was like, we must save the world and all. You know, and then that's when he goes outside. So then Pat goes outside, you know, he gets run up on by Eclipso. Eclipso got, you know, Pat by the arm, and he's like twisting, turning, he's basically about to break Pat's arm. Courtney's there, and then Courtney's watching, you know, she's watching as Pat gets his arm broken. And then, you know, Eclipso, and this was so bad because I'm like, Courtney knew it, she knew what he was trying to do. You knew he was goading you. You knew he was trying to get you to say the word. I'm like, how did you fall for that? And then it was just like, oh, say the words or I'll break his arm. Come on, say it, say it. And she was like, I hate you. And I was like, I can't, no. You know, and that was all Eclipso needed. And then when he got that last bit of hate, you know, when he sipped on that last piece of haterade, you know, then he actually was able to merge with Courtney because Courtney had, you know, gave into the darkness. She's evil now, you know, and Eclipso's plan all along was to get a hold of Courtney because light is the only thing that can hurt him. And he wanted to be in a situation where he can command the light and the darkness so he can bring the Shadowlands and Earth together as one. That was his plan from Jump Street. So now Stargirl, she's gone to the dark side. You know, Yolanda shows up, Cindy shows up, and Cindy's first thing is like, yo, let's slit this bitch's throat. And then Yolanda was like, hold up. She was like, we're not killing Courtney. And then Cindy was just like, she's like, don't you know how this works? You got to kill the host. And then she's like, no, she's like, we're going to get the staff, but we're not going to kill Courtney. And Yolanda and Cindy have a whole frenemy thing going now because there's like a small mutual respect between them, but they still hate each other's guts. So, but both of them together, they go after Courtney. They start fighting evil Courtney. They start fighting dark Courtney. And, you know, they're fighting her. It's not working. They get in the ass beat. They try to take the staff from her. It doesn't work. And then, you know, they get knocked back. And then Stargirl, you know, evil girl, she's just like, oh, you'll never take the staff from me because only one person can command the power of the staff. There can only be one. And then a hand grabbed the staff, and I said, here comes Starman. I was like, here comes Starman. Starman grabbed the staff, and he was like, actually, there are two people. And then I guess like the power of Starman reconnecting with the staff, it was enough to kind of like break through to the staff and break through to Courtney. And both Starman and Courtney at that point, they were fighting and struggling and everything. And Starman was even saying to Courtney, he was like, come on, kid. He was like, you know, you got to fight the darkness. You got to fight it. And then she was able to fight. Everybody miraculously woke up at that moment. You know, like Jenny showed up, Barbara showed up, Rick got up, you know, the Shade was there. Like everybody was there at that point. Everybody that showed up conveniently woke up. And then after everybody woke up, they watched, you know, Starman and Stargirl fighting over the staff. But Starman's essence was just enough that they needed to break Courtney free of, you know, of the evil, and it knocked Eclipso back. After Eclipso got knocked back, and then Courtney was back to normal, Eclipso was just sitting there. Everybody surrounds him, and I'm just like, so we just gonna let him sit there? He got up for a second, like Eclipso got up to try to attack them for a second. Then he got shot full of like 750 arrows, and then when we look up, here come the Croc family, and I'm just like, I knew, and I said this in the last video, I knew Cindy called Artemis because Cindy has no friends, and all the people that Cindy knows is dead. All the people that Cindy know are either dead or they were involved in that fight. There's only one person who Cindy has the phone number to who was not present in that moment, and that was Artemis. And I knew she called Artemis, but what I did not know, I did not think that Artemis was going to break her parents out of prison, because they actually said that. Like, Tiger's dead ass was like, yo, our daughter broke us out of jail. And I'm like, how did Artemis break her parents out of prison? I need an explanation for that. And why is this family not on the run from the law? But they didn't really do much. They just wanted to let us know that they were back. And then the Croc family was there. Then everybody was there, and everybody was looking down at Eclipso. And then all of a sudden, the shade was just like, for those who command the light, I suggest you. He's like, I suggest you strike quickly. And I'm like, strike quickly? Y'all been bullshitting, like talking for the last 5 minutes. And then like everybody that commanded some sort of like Jenny finally did something. Jenny got off her ass and did something. Jenny, Stargirl. Jakeem said, I wish this guy was toast, and I was like, oh boy. I was like, did no one tell you how to use the pen? And then they blasted him, they blew him, they basically burnt him to a crisp, and they turned him into toast. like they literally turned him into toast. And I'm pretty sure somebody took that piece of toast and chucked it into the sun. And then Eclipso was defeated, and all was right with the world. And we had a nice, cool shot of like the entire cast of season 2, aside from the mechanic, because he's the only person who wasn't there in that moment. And that was it. Like everybody, the world was saved, and now everybody's dealing with the aftermath. Like the JSA, they were sitting on the stoop. They were talking about, like what's the next steps in summer school and everything. And then Yolanda said she's back with the team. And, Rick was like, he got some business to handle. Everybody had business to handle. And everybody went their separate ways to go handle their business. Jenny ended up going to Milwaukee to try to find her brother. So that's still a thing. And we're still doing that. Beth went to go say goodbye to Dr. McNider. But she told Dr. McNider that not only did she locate where his wife was, she said that, did you know that when you got sucked into the Shadowland, did you know that your wife was pregnant when you disappeared? And then he was just like, oh shit, and then she told him, she's like, you have a 10-year-old son. And, I'm happy for him because he was dealing with the pain of like losing his daughter for the last 10 years. So to find out that he has like another kid, I was just like, no, that's good for him. We could only hope, because 10 years went by. Who's to say that when he shows up at his wife's doorstep, she ain't got the next dudes like standing there raising his kid? I'm just saying. But but he left. That was pretty nice. Beth ended up talking to her parents. She told her parents the whole thing about the JSA, the superheroisms and everything. And surprisingly, they didn't go with the traditional age-old trope of the parents being like, oh, you're not going to go out there and blah, blah, blah. And her parents were actually cool with it. They're just like, oh, this is great. Like the Justice Society, superheroes, our daughter's a superhero. And I'm like, you're actually okay with her going out at night fighting crime? But I'm going to forgive this for 2 reasons. The first reason I'm going to forgive this is because, again, we see the same thing all the time where the parent always has a problem with it. So to finally see a pair of parents actually happy and embracing the fact that their child's a superhero, that was a nice twist. That was a nice change, and I'm not going to down them for that, because like I said, it's something different. The other reason why I'm not mad is because because I forgot the dad, like he builds stuff, he's like bio and engineering, whatever. They were talking about building her a new costume, and I was like, thank God. Like the dad said, he was like, about the costume, he was like, what about nanotech and silver and black or something like that? And I was just like, for the love of God, yes, give this girl, because y'all got Beth out here looking like Boo Boo the Fool. And Beth desperately needs a new costume. Please give this girl a new costume. And if it can be, and I like the fact that they brought up the nanotech, because they showed us a scene with Beth and Dr. McNider actually getting dressed during a fight, and it was taking them 50 years to put the goddamn costume on. So nanotech, I think, would be a nice little change. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm very excited about that going forward. Rick ended up burying Grundy, and I don't know how he did that without that hourglass. And then the shade rolled up on him, and he was like, dear boy, he was like, if you want to bring Grundy back, all you have to do is just place place him at the right place at the right time. And then Rick was just like, so are you going to tell me where that is before you leave town? And he was like, dear God, why would I leave town? He was like, and then he threw one last piece of shade. He was like, although your tea is abysmal, he said that you young people have piqued my interest, and I think I'll stick around Blue Valley. So Grundy's coming back. He's going to put him in the swamp on a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever, however the hell the rhyme goes. And I'm still like, what we doing with this hourglass? Because we still never resolved the hourglass situation. I'm like, what's going on with this hourglass? If they wish the hourglass back to normal, please give this man more than an hour with this goddamn hourglass. You know, and then Yolanda, now Yolanda was interesting because she's still going to church, and then she came out of church, and when she came out of church, she got run up on by Cindy. You know, because Yolanda was like, what are you doing here, Cindy Berman? And then she was just like, oh, you know, she said that Courtney will never agree to this unless you're on board. So she was like, I came here to talk to you. And she's like, talk to me about what? And then she said that you've done things, you've killed people, you've done horrible things, and you're still a member of the JSA. You got to pass. Hell, Mike killed Icicle, whether it was on purpose or not. Mike killed somebody. He killed Icicle, and he got a pass. There are so many different people. Rick, you know, Rick beat the shit out of his uncle. Rick almost killed somebody, and Rick got a pass. So she was just like, I should get a pass too. And then she was like, what do you mean? She's like, I want to join the JSA. And when she said that, the look on Yolanda's face was priceless, because she was just like, bitch. She's like, you done lost your damn mind. See, but then when she said that, I kind of paused and I was like, that girl got a goddamn point. Like, Cindy should get a pass. Like, the thing with Cindy is the product of a severely broken home. And she's gone through an excessive amount of trauma. She lashes out, and her attitude and her personality is a result of her trauma. Everybody on this team has gone through some sort of personal trauma. Damn near everybody in the JSA, except for like Barbara, has killed somebody. If everybody gets, and I complained about this in season 1. My biggest complaint about the season finale of season 1, so much murder took place. These kids killed lots of people in season 1. And nobody got in trouble. Nobody batted an eye. Everybody went home like nothing ever happened. So if that's the case, Cindy should get a pass. Cindy should get a pass. Cindy should at least get an opportunity to see if she can be a member of the JSA. And I have no problem with that, because her being on the team will be hilarious and it'll be very entertaining. So I'm down for that. I'm down with Cindy as a member of the JSA, and I want to see Courtney's reaction when Cindy and Yolanda, because Yolanda's going to say yes. When they go to Courtney and they're just like, yo, she want to join the JSA. I just want to be there when that whole reaction happens. And then Courtney herself, she was talking to Pat about, the next steps, and Pat was like, yo, sit your ass down. He was like, yo, we just beat Eclipso. He's like, let's just enjoy the moment before you go running off half cock doing some shit. And then Starman showed up, and then when Starman came downstairs, he was like, don't worry, I'm not here to take the staff. He was just like, but since I don't have a house and since I don't have any place to live, and I just walked from California to Blue Valley, Wisconsin, he said, maybe I can teach you how to use it and unlock its true power. Now, what pissed me off about the whole Starman thing was they never said what happened to him when he quote unquote died in the pilot. All Pat said was, because Courtney even said, she was like, yo, I thought he died. And then Pat was like, well, we thought Dr. Mid-Nite died too. I'm like, okay, you know the difference, Pat. But Pat was just like, well, Starman said he would tell me what happened later. And I'm like, can we be in on that conversation? Like, can you show us that conversation? Because I'd like to know what happened, to him as well. Because there's no reason why this man should be here. We saw him die. So unless there's like some magical star power in his system that prevents him, like that allows him to regenerate, but he's going to be there. Like, he's going to hang out at the house. He's going to be downstairs in the basement, and he's going to be training Courtney going forward. So like I said, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't have a problem with that as well. And then the whole family was there. They were at the dinner table, or the breakfast table. And then while they were having breakfast, they get a ring at the doorbell. And then the Croc family's at the door, and they're just like, yo, we're in this bitch. Like, we're in the neighborhood. We're your new neighbors. And then, Courtney and Pat look like they done seen a ghost. And all I'm saying is, why are her parents not in prison? Like, I'd like to know why. Like, did the Thunderbolt wish that their parents be cleared of all charges? I need to know. I need answers in this season. This season finale provided us with no answers at all. How did the Crocs escape prison? Why are they still there? How did Starman not die? There are just so many questions. I need answers to these questions. Give me answers. And then Oh, and then Icicle Jr., his grandparents rolled up on him. And they was like, it is time to show you what your true family really is. And then like their eyes lit up or whatever. So I don't know if he's going to be a villain, but it looks like his grandparents basically got like the battery in his back. And they're the ones that are going to drive him to do whatever it is he's going to do in season 3. And then in the final scene, the Helix organization for orphan children, basically that old white lady that had all them orphan kids, she was talking to someone and then she was just like, oh, Jenny has gone back to Milwaukee to look for her brother, but she made friends along the way. And then she was like, Blue Valley, Wisconsin is chocked full of superheroes and villains. And then there was this weird like Red Skull looking dude that was just like, oh. And I forgot the actor, the black actor that's doing his voice. I forgot. As soon as he started talking, I was like, I know that voice. I just can't remember the guy's name. But he was just like, oh, maybe it's time we take a trip to Blue Valley. You know, so apparently this Helix group is going to be the big bads for season 3. They're going to be like the main focus and the threat. The Crocs are going to be involved somehow. And then the Icicle family is going to have something to do with it as well. But that was it. You know, that was it. And thank you for tuning in. This was good. Season 2 was good. And I love me some Stargirl. You know, it got a little rocky in the beginning because Courtney was acting, you know, like a spoiled brat. But, you know, it came around. Like, share your thoughts below. Let me know who your MVP is. Let me know who the star is of the season. I mean, you already know for me, it's the Shade. You know, like the Shade was the MVP of the season for me. Let me know who you think is the MVP. Who'd you like? And who you looking forward to seeing? I'm looking forward to seeing everything involving the Crocs and Cindy being a member of the JSA. I'm definitely here for that. But share your thoughts, your questions, comments, and or concerns down below, and we continue to talk about it. I do not have a rant that I had in the last season because I was very upset about a lot of things that happened in the season finale of last season. You know, my only gripe now was that Eclipso basically took over the town, and the next morning, none of the townspeople acted like anything ever happened. But that usually happens all the time in superhero-related stuff. But like I said, but share your questions. Check me out on Twitter. Check me out on Instagram. Always on YouTube, where you can leave your comments, and you know I'll respond. We'll go back and forth, talk about some of the Stargirl action as we wait for season 2. What are some things you want to see in season 3? You know, what we're waiting for season 3. Like, what are some things that you want to see in season 3? Like characters, anybody new you want to come in? Anybody old want to come in? Does Jakeem tell his parents about the whole Thunderbolt thing and everything? But like I said, it was a good ride. No complaints here. No complaints here. So thanks for tuning in as always, guys. Love you all. You know, everybody that chimed in during the course of the season. You know, love you all. Justin King always. You know, like, you know, riding that Stargirl train. You know, Stargirl for life since we lost that Black Lightning. And we're waiting for season 3. And when season 3 comes, we'll continue to talk about it. Also, check out my other videos because the series finale of Supergirl is coming up, so we definitely got to do a video for that. And we're still doing Batwoman. We're still doing Legends of Tomorrow. We got Young Justice, Doom Patrol, and once the Supergirl series finale is concluded, The Flash is back as well. So thanks for tuning in, guys. So for the final time for summer school, as we get out of summer school and head over to regular school, I'm out this